This episode is sponsored by Magic Mind. Drink Magic Mind.
Knowledge and the talent that my mother had born to her equals a what is it, Trey?
Yo, man, that's the formula.
Interesting.
Have you ever tried this stuff?
Is that the wellness shot that you gave me?
No, that was just like a turmeric ginger or something. I think I got that from Whole Foods, but Magic Mind is kind of like the NeuroGum. It's caffeine, it's L-theanine, it's ashwagandha. So it's like a bunch of wellness alert.
Yeah.
Less caffeine, all packed into a little shot here, but I'm a fan of it. It's pretty expensive, but I don't know. It's a good switch up from coffee.
Yeah. How often, like when you're trying things like this, do you feel like it's almost a placebo effect at times, or do you think it actually is helping?
I don't know about helping per se, but it definitely yields a different feeling, where I feel like coffee is consistent. I kind of get the same result. There's a
Yeah.
crash involved. Magic Mind I have less often. I haven't bought it before. I bought this pack in a couple of years. Honestly, there was a big wave where it was sponsorships on a lot of the wellness type podcasts that I would listen to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think every type of form of caffeine does something different for me. And I think like coffee feels heavy, but it feels like a quick hit. And then there's a crash that comes from it. I think I sometimes will feel more wiry from like yerba mate or like green tea.
Yeah.
But it feels a little more subtle. But I don't know if it necessarily helps. Like with the NeuroGum and with this stuff, I don't know that I lock in more or focus necessarily, but
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
I will say you're probably one of the most well-versed in all the things of people I know. So it is interesting. I feel like you're always switching it up. And it's probably almost, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably almost just to like keep getting those effects. Like, cause sometimes coffee, I drink it so much that I just have to stop for a week before I can feel the caffeine come in again.
Yeah, I just like trying new stuff, honestly, because I didn't do caffeine at all for all that time. I feel like I've probably said that 1,000 times on here, but since coming back to it, I'm like, oh, I can get caffeine from here. I can get caffeine from here. So I just like switching it up. And like I said, if I do coffee for too many days in a row, I start to kind of get sick of it.
Yeah.
So I just need to switch it up, especially if I just want kind of a different, more subtle feeling. I'm probably 60% coffee, 40% tea or yerba, and now Magic Mind sponsor us.
I do think you're right though with what you're saying. Like the more I've been thinking about it, like coffee is kind of heavy in a sense, and like there is that crash and stuff. And I think also with especially if you drink it like in a latte form, it's so much sugar and all that. So it is necessary to find some other outlets of it.
What's your go-to coffee order?
Cortado.
Cortada?
Yeah, with oat milk. So it's like
Is that
even amount of espresso to steamed milk. And then outside of that, I do usually just like a honey latte with oat milk too.
consistently? You never get sick of those? Yeah,
So
I'm the same. I'm a black coffee, black drip coffee, or cold brew with cinnamon. Always with cinnamon. It's supposed to be really good for the brain and adds just an additional flavor, I guess, on top of the coffee. I don't know if it's abnormal to do just cinnamon and black coffee, but I'm a loyalist.
I will have to add cinnamon. I didn't know it was that good for you.
Yeah. I'm not the spokesperson necessarily on the science behind it, but I heard that and the flavor's good. So it's just kind of the routine I got in.
Yeah, fair enough. Uh,
Um,
oh,
you
go
go
ahead.
first. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, so, like, this last week, I was on vacation, I just got back yesterday.
Yeah.
Wanted to understand, as somebody that, like, has traveled a lot in the last year and kinda works remote, how how you feel about, like, working while you're on vacation? Do you ever actually get a vacation when you're gone because, like, you're busy? And just, like, do you actually get to shut off?
It's hard. I think I recognize the importance of shutting off the more older I get.
Mhm.
It's always enticing to do work when I'm on vacation just because people think I'm on vacation so I can kind of get stuff done behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I'm going on this trip in a couple of weeks now to Florida that I go to every year where I go
Yeah.
visit my grandpa with my mom. We stay with him for a long weekend and it's very, very slow. And it's like the opposite of what I'm used to in my regular life.
Mhm.
And I've noticed we've done this trip probably 5 or 6 years in a row now.
Yeah.
Every year that passes,
Mhm.
it takes more and more time when we land there for me to truly unwind and start enjoying the vacation because, I'm so go, go, go all the time. It's hard to just kind of quick flip that switch and go into vacation mode, at least for me. So, and especially there's always so much riding on it for me because I do have this thought going into it where I'm like, oh, I finally get to shut my brain off. It'll be
Mhm.
nice to not work for all these days. So I get there and I'm sitting by the pool and my brain's just still going about all the stuff I could be doing. And so I don't know. It usually is hard for me to do depending on the vacation. Sometimes I do still work. I try to avoid it at all costs because nothing we do is that serious or life changing. That's always the way I like to think about it. If like lives aren't being impacted, if businesses aren't plummeting, then stuff is okay to be handled once we get back. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just used to always having to jam as much as I can in a little amount of time that it seems crazy to not be doing something. But I value that relaxation and separation from the work, I think, now more than ever. So
Mhm. So then, like, say you get to the point where you are starting to relax, are you trying to fill that with other things like reading or, learning something that you've been wanting to learn or doing some sort of hobby that you've been wanting to learn? Like, what what are you doing with your time when you're on vacation?
my priorities when I'm on vacation, at least, I'm going to keep using this Florida one as an example,
Mhm.
is to do nothing, to seriously do nothing. I built kind of a routine on this trip because during the day, the morning usually starts pretty slow for everyone. And
Mhm.
then we'll do a small kind of breakfast and then they'll all go down to the pool and then we'll hang by the pool until the sun goes down and then we kind of do like
Yeah.
hummus and crackers plate and wine and chill for a bit and then go out to dinner and then do the same thing again.
Mhm.
But my version of that has become wake up earlier than everyone else, run to the beach, walk down the beach and back, and then run home, maybe get a coffee and then run home, make a big
Mhm.
breakfast, and then meet everyone down by the pool. So it's still prioritizing the health and I'm getting some sort of workout in. I feel like I get like a meditation of sorts by getting to up and down the beach.
Yeah.
Often I get to see the sunrise. I get a good meal in to start the day, and then I still get to kind of be leisure the rest of the day without worrying about
Yeah.
when I'm going to eat or when I'm going to get a workout in. So I don't know. It depends on the vacation. Again, like I'm using this specific example of one that I just like to do nothing. I think there's just as much of space for me to go on vacations that require lots of walking and going to do the touristy stuff and seeing shops and going to museums. I appreciate that stuff as well. But
Mhm.
I'm definitely not trying to pick up a new skill or occupy
Yeah.
my brain with anything new while I'm there, I don't think.
You don't think? Yeah. Fair enough. Do you feel like you need a vacation from your vacation then?
Oftentimes, yeah, because there's almost a whiplash where how I mentioned it takes me a second to get comfortable on a vacation. By the time I do that, it's time to come home and then my like routine at home is all jacked up.
Yeah.
So I try to not put too much energy into what I'm explaining right now because I feel like you just set yourself up for failure by setting expectations.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the most important thing when going on vacations is just shutting it off as you're able, not putting too much pressure on it, bringing some books with, really learning how to be present with cutting out something that so often is taking me away from being present.
Yeah.
But easier said than done, I think sometimes too, but trying to put less pressure on it, I think is important.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Are you and your family big partiers on vacation then?
Uh, I'd say maybe medium partiers. I think not really this vacation with my mom and her dad, like, as he starts to get older especially, it was the case where we'd, have 1,000 glasses of wine and, like, stay up all night playing cards, and
Yeah.
we do that, I think, as a family just because it's kind of our version of quality time,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think, and I was thinking about this Florida trip too. A lot of my vacations are Florida. You'll find like my family are we go to Florida a lot because my grandpa has this place, so it's super
Yeah.
convenient. It's like a free stay when we go there. It's something that we're
Mhm.
all comfortable with. But you asked me about what I like to do. Last time we went to Florida to this same place, I went there 3 times in 2025, if you can believe that. The same place we stayed twice. The other was with Caroline's family,
Yeah.
but it's been a few years since me and my immediate family have taken a vacation together. And my dad is similar to me, where he likes to just kick his feet up on vacation. He doesn't want to be running around and he just wants to take a week away from work and,
Yeah.
have some drinks, play cards, go to some nice dinners.
Yeah.
And we started our mornings very, very slow. And it was at the time I was watching The Bear, that show.
Yeah.
And my dad had just watched it, and every single day that we were there, we would start, like, the first 3 hours of our day watching The Bear,
Yeah.
and, again, maybe not the most productive way to spend vacation. We weren't even in the Florida sun, which we should have been appreciating, but I'm more there to just hang out,
Yeah. Have
and
some
turn my
time.
brain off and, go wherever the day takes me more so than
Yeah.
yeah.
It was so different on this vacation, like, cause now my family has nieces and nephews and, you
Yeah.
know, there's all these little ones, and I was always the youngest, so it went from for years because I was from 20 to, however old, where it was like a huge party, cause I mean, my family's from Wisconsin, so they like to have some fun,
Yeah.
uh, but now with all the little ones, it's like just not that, and they would, cause we do the same thing of just like we go to the beach and sit at the beach all day long or go to the pool. And throughout the day, you're having drinks because, like, why not? You're on vacation. And then, you'd get by the end of the night, a few people are just toasted because they didn't drink any water in between. The sun took all the water out of them. Uh, but yeah, and then you go in the hot tub and the hot tub does the same thing. And then late night hot tub sessions because, why not? And so it's just like a different dynamic this time. And then also it was the end of the month too for me. So in sales, like I was waiting on a few things to be closing and, all these pieces that were kind of out of my control, even though typically are out of my control in general, but like to be fully away from it, it was a lot different vacation compared to what I was expecting. Um, just because like the last day on my laptop at the end of the day, like trying to get all this shit in. And so it was a little bit different. And then we left super early. Like we had to get up at 4 a.m. to fly home. So yesterday we just chilled at home all day and just kind of wore you out because like you got little sleep and then traveling and all this stuff. But it was a great vacation. I can't lie. But I'm the opposite. I'm trying to read a book, or I was journaling a lot while we were there too. Just like trying to fill one task of things I've been trying to get to with each day. But then also like spend as much time, especially with the kids, because I don't get all that time with them. And like, I don't know, little kids around vacation, they get so hyped. Like we were on the flight with my nieces and my sister and her husband on the way there. And the girls were so jacked about getting on the airplane. They got to have a TV in front of them and watch Bluey or whatever they were watching. And
Hell
it's
yeah.
just funny to be around them. And then like the last day, me and Steph brought them to the ocean and just were jumping in the waves. And like, I don't know, I guess they had never had somebody do that with them and like show them how to body surf and like do those things. So they were
Yeah.
pumped. And we sat in the sun. I needed to put more sunscreen on at this point, but we sat in the sun, like in the waves doing that for like a good hour. And it was just a good memory for me, to think about too. So I'm glad that happened. But you forget, like, especially as I've been there so many times as a kid, like to that same hotel, because my family has a timeshare there. So that's where we always vacationed. And I forget that like they don't have all the same experiences as I do. I just figured like somebody had taught them that. And like, so I should have even shown them like boogie boarding and all that stuff because like, I don't know, I'm the uncle that tries to get them in trouble and to do things that they don't typically do. So,
As you
uh,
should.
yeah, yeah. It's always funny, like the oldest one, um, I'll tell her and the youngest to, you know, here's some candy or whatever the thing may be, or like, let's go do this. And then she's like, well, I gotta ask mom. I'm like, don't ask mom. Like, what? And the youngest one is like, "Psh, I'm not asking her. And she just does it or takes the candy right away. It's just like such a funny dynamic.
So do you get in trouble with mom, or does she let it slide because you're the fun uncle?
I think she just says you get to deal with them then at that point.
Valid.
She did not let me give them, when we landed, because we landed super late. I was like, all right, go pick out some candy and whatever you want out of the vending machine. And and my sister was like, do not do that. Like these kids
Right
are gonna
before
be
bed.
up. Yeah. Like it's already way past their bedtime. It's like 12. And she's like, they have had a long day. Do not give them candy. I tried to sneak it, but she was not having it.
They just charge back up, and it's
Yeah.
Uncle Tred's fault.
It was so funny in the car though. They were talking because 'cause they're so pumped about being there and driving, and then my sister goes, "Just for 30 seconds, don't talk, like, just chill for 30 seconds." I look back at the end of the 30 seconds, they're both just passed out. One's, like, sitting across the seats, the other one's head is against the window, and it was so funny.
That's the way it goes. Do you
Yeah.
find that you talked about like towards the end of the trip, you were starting to like that or think about work stuff again? Was that
Yeah.
consistent throughout the trip, or do you have like similar ebbs and flows to what I do where I try to shut it off and it comes back and vice versa?
Yeah. I think, like, it's always in the back of my mind, like, in some capacity.
Yeah.
At times, you can get away from it, like, when you're by the pool and you're focused on something, but like I said, I had meetings that were gonna be running
Mm.
that I was, like, not the first 2 days not thinking about as much, but the last day, I was, like, checking my phone. I brought my work phone down to the beach even, like, just to check messages throughout the day and see how they were going and stuff, but the other 2 days wasn't as bad. I think for me, it was more about reevaluating where I wanna go, what's important to me, those types of things, so I was thinking of them in that capacity, but not necessarily, like, the day-to-day of what I need to do, but maybe even, like, future planning, but I think that a lot of that has to do with, like, just life decisions I'm going through right now, because I think for me, vacation is a time where I can actually focus on my life and, like, just thinking and being in my head. Like, I tried not to look at my phone the whole vacation and just, like, sit at the beach, read, stare at the waves, those types of things. So, I'm not typically good at, like, shutting off like that anymore. So it's a nice excuse to.
Yeah, you're doing a good job at articulating how I try to be on vacation because as much as I said I wanted to sit around and do nothing, I'm doing the same thing that you're explaining, where
Yeah,
a lot of introspection happens, even if it's not specific, like work actionables, life decisions, the journey, the path. Like I finally get time away from there
yeah,
being something physically in front of me, pulling away from those thoughts.
yeah,
We talked about the float tanks, and the science behind a sensory deprivation tank is it's the only way you can have the ability to finish a thought A to Z without
yeah,
some sort of stimuli
yeah,
interrupting that thought, whether it's smell, feel, hear, taste, I guess. I don't know what the other ones are, but
yeah,
what you're explaining about just like looking in the waves at the ocean is a version of that to me because there's just the sounds. You put the phone down and you block out a lot of the social stimuli, I guess, and allows you to reevaluate. Even
yeah,
though I've been to the same place 1,000 times in Florida, I always get so charged up when I'm there or when I'm anywhere just outside of my routine because I start to think differently. I start to have a different perspective.
yeah,
All the like minute details of what we spend all of our time worrying about kind of wash away, and it makes you think more big picture than,
yeah,
what's this business system I need to improve, and how do I respond to this email delicately, and how do I it's just like little things that are important in building the business, but balance is becoming higher and higher up on my priority list, and vacations, even if it's, you
yeah,
know, 4 or 5 day trip to a place you've been to 1,000 times. It's a
yeah,
different routine, it's a different environment, it's a different energy, and it's funny because it's funny because the conversation that we're having about the importance of these vacations is so similar to what I've had in the past few months with mentors and other people in similar spaces to me that come
mhm,
back from vacations and feel like, "Oh, man, I'm, like, so recharged. I was able to really step away from work and, put energy back into myself," and I
yeah,
think especially with me building my own business, there's so much overlap in who Casey is and who this business is that I'm building because so much of my energy gets dumped into it
yeah,
that the only way to see it from a bird's eye is like getting pulled out in a vacation. And so often it's far down my priority list because I have
yeah,
so many other more important like finance things higher up on the list that it's like, oh, how quickly will I spend, $1,000 on some bullshit, and how much just as easy could that go to a
yeah,
flight both ways in a hotel for a few nights?
yeah,
Maybe just because I didn't travel a lot growing up, that's not my first thought, but
mhm,
definitely my thought now.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and I like you're saying, I think it reminds you of what's important because you get that time of, like, with your family. They talk about love language. I think, like, nowadays, I'm starting to realize, like, quality time is one that's super important to me. The more I'm, like, around my family and the more I'm spending focused time with stuff, like doing something like a vacation, and just, like, not working your life away. I think there's like you said, the balance piece of it all. I think some of that comes with understanding that based on working your ass off and like, doing those things, almost like killing yourself trying to do it. You
Yeah,
start to understand you by doing that, you've allowed yourself to understand where you can take some time and like where you can put things in place to like alleviate some of that. But I don't think you find a lot of that out if you just start off always balanced. So
true. That's a
it's
good
a interesting
point.
thing. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I know we've talked about this a lot of the balance piece, but then just finding ways to almost take yourself out of the equation, but get the best results. So, uh, yeah, it's good. I do think you need, for me personally, I need more than 3 days. I think I need like
Yeah.
5 full days of vacation to really like relax and, you know, move, move in the direction that I need to when it comes to just letting go. So,
Talking to Tyler about this yesterday, but if I had just a month away from everything, you know, a couple weeks just to unwind and unpack and journal and sit and stare at
yeah,
the waves, and then 2 weeks of organizing any and everything about my life, and then
yeah,
diving back into everything that was on pause, like, I don't know, man. I think I'd take over the world. I think like, that's all I need is for time to just stop for a second, to give me a second to
yeah,
catch up and not feel like I have to cram as much as I can into a day. And maybe talk about that big calendar behind me. You know, we're almost looking at 4 months out of the year crossed off, and we
yeah,
just celebrated New Year's, what felt like a couple of weeks ago.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know. Again, with the balance, like I don't want to keep as punching the clock and being on go mode because I have these big goals and then overlook everything that's happening. And I appreciate when you call out moments too. I'll just say when you recognize your nieces in the back seat and the things that you appreciate about your vacation. I think I always do subconsciously, but
yeah,
I think it's cool that you're able to personify that and then bring it up in conversation because I don't think a lot of people do.
yeah, yeah. Well, you notice those things, especially when you don't get that time. So
True. Yeah, relatable. Um, so I know we kind of just got into it here. This is episode 20, something I was texting you about and maybe a bit of a different format, and we can kind of talk through this as well. But something that I thought would keep these episodes interesting and unique each time is us alternating in who comes with some sort of topic preparation to kind of guide the conversation. I don't
mhm,
necessarily see I don't want it to restrict conversation, or I don't want it to set certain guardrails of where we can go, or
yeah,
even like that expectation for what needs to come from the topics brought. But I just think like if the cadence becomes Casey episode, Trent episode,
yeah,
guest episode, you know, in between episodes, one of us can prepare just with things we see throughout our week, things
yeah,
that are happening in the news or we think are relevant to bring here to have conversation. Again, like pretty open ended for what the topics can be. Some might yield these like big, groundbreaking conversations. Some,
yeah.
might get cut off kind of quickly. But what are your thoughts on like having some sort of format like that that drives the conversation more than just hit and record?
No, I think that's cool. I think it also like builds a good cadence as well. So I'm open to it. I think that's a good idea. L- Allows us both to, you know, take on take on more for different episodes and kind of just be there for some other ones too. So
Yeah. I think it keeps us accountable too, because as much as we do want to keep this casual and we don't want to like over prepare, I think this varies by episode. Oftentimes I'll edit an episode and then listen to it back. And then I'll think of things even sometimes when I'm listening that I'm like, oh, that would be good to circle back on in the next podcast. Times I
yeah,
don't write it down. We just hit record, like nothing ever comes from it.
yeah,
But I think, it may be a lot for us to have to do that every week, but if next week is your turn, then you can listen to it back or
Yeah.
just have like a note open on your phone that's like, oh, this is something I'm thinking about. Wonder what
Yeah.
Casey's take would be on it. But I think it can range again from everything to like, I have a hot take on this. What do you think? Do you think this is
Yeah.
better? This is better. I'll send you an example, but there's this podcast called Not Today, Pal, that I used to listen to like super frequently.
Mhm.
And in that case, it's two people, but the guy, Robert Eiler, is the one preparing every week. So the girl technically never has to do anything, but he comes with these like random assortment of topics that naturally start conversations. And he does a
Yeah.
good job of transitioning from topics and bringing topics up organically and having it
Mhm.
not feel forced and still allowing it to feel casual without saying like, all right, here's my list of topics, like, going down one by one. So maybe I'll send you an example of that too, but I don't know. I just thought like that would be a good way to switch it up, especially if people are going to listen to these and, we're subconsciously talking about similar things or just stuff about our lives that aren't forwarding us at all or entertaining to listen to. So I don't know.
Fair enough. Can I bring up a hot take that I saw today? I ha
Sure.
I don't know fully all the details with it, but it was from a credible news source. You see that Trump is putting his signature on every dollar bill now?
I did not see that. What was the credible source?
I think it was like the Wall Street Journal or New York Times. But yeah, I guess he's like taking what is that, the Secretary of Commission or
Oh yeah,
I
this
forget.
is USA Today. Senators press Treasury on Trump's signature added to U.S. paper money.
Yeah, he's the first sitting US president to have his signature on a dollar bill. And it's gonna go on every single every single one.
So what's your hot take with that?
I was
You just
shocked
wanted
by
to
it.
bring it up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I just like when I saw it, I was like, that's crazy. I I mean, I guess like it's a signature, but and maybe I haven't analyzed money that well to know all the details, but it was just an interesting thing.
I'm trying to understand if this is something that he's introducing to happen ongoing or if it's just a Trump thing.
Yeah, I think
There's
it's
no more
like
powerful way to recognize the historic achievements of our great country and President Donald J. Trump than U.S. dollar bills bearing his name. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy.
if it's for every ongoing dollar bill, that's actually insane. But
Yeah, I
if
don't
it's just
I don't
for
know how like
president
logistically
and
that works.
presidency, yeah, that's different. Like if it's just like whatever sitting president for those years has their signature, then whatever. But every
One day when
dollar for life is crazy.
one day when you become president, are you gonna put your name on the dollar bill?
Exactly. I'm gonna use the model that he's done and just run that way.
It's wild. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know like what else to comment on that other than that's wild.
Yeah. No, I don't know. If I ever run for president, who knows what I'll do.
I'd vote for you.
Yeah? Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like you got the qualities to be a good president, and if you put in the time and research and effort to learn what you needed to learn to be successful in that position, knowing what I know about you, I think you'd put in significantly probably too much work and do a good job. So,
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I do think it's funny looking at like the before and after photos of sitting presidents.
mm.
Like they always walk in like really damn good looking typically and like young, and then they get done with their first presidency and they just are full of like gray hair and look wrinkly, and then by the end of it they just look like old men that are ready to sit down.
Yeah. I mean, like, not to get too political on here, but I'm interested to know in having ah, such a character as a president
Yeah.
in this term. Do you think that the pendulum is gonna swing backwards to where we're gonna get, like, politicians leading the country again eventually, actual politicians, or do you think it's gonna continue to become like a celebrity, the popular vote kind of a situation? Like, is it gonna be like, is The Rock gonna be the president next year, or is it gonna be
It's
another
Jake Paul,
button?
man.
That's what I'm, like, genuinely curious about. Like, are we gonna
Yeah.
continue to see, like, the popular vote outweigh experience?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to it. I would think like I think people are going to probably go back to politicians, but I think the rigor of what it means to be a politician is going to change in the future here.
Mm,
Um, Especially like I've seen things where they're talking about how politicians can't take or like actually do insider trading the way that they have been doing and like can't, So I think and what I'm hoping for is that it'll make politicians go back to the time of like the John F. Kennedys and the people that like wanted to do good for the greater good and not good for their pockets. Um, and I don't know, we'll see. I think times like these though, what do they say? Great men come from hard times, good times make soft men, or whatever that saying is. I think
mm.
that's like kind of where we're at right now too, of like some people are gonna get so upset from this, so then they're gonna be like, well, I want to go into this field because that it needs the work. Where like I have friends that were on Capitol Hill and they're like, it is just such a joke being here. Like it's all about fleecing your pockets and like doing these
Mm.
things. And people that I would vote for in the future because I know them personally and like have a lot of the qualities of like don't care about, you know, that type of stuff and want to do good. They were like, there's just no reason for me to be here anymore. Like, I'll just go do this other job and make good money and not have to deal with all the bullshit that comes along with it. Um, so I think like, you're going to find some people that really are good people that should be in these positions instead of people that just want power and to take and take. So we'll see, but who knows?
Well said. I think about that in kind of the example you just gave with careers in general. Like, I think there's a heavy lean towards doing less and making more in
Yeah.
some of like the physical labor jobs, even, people working behind the gas station register, like
Yeah.
jobs that require you to actually get up, drive to work, and engage with people. Don't you think the numbers of kids these days interested in doing jobs like that are like significantly dwindling?
Yeah.
Or do I just have a skewed perception from all my doom scrolling?
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I'm part of the corporation that is like gonna find a way to almost eliminate a lot of those jobs, even the job that I have now. So, I think like that's the way the world's going, but who knows? Maybe they put requirements around things, but I just don't I think the younger generation too doesn't want to deal with that stuff. Um, but yeah, who knows?
The example that I always think about is when I used to work at Panera. I love bringing up my Panera experience.
Yeah.
When I started, I was 14
Uh-huh.
and or maybe I was 15. I couldn't drive yet. When I started there, I was the youngest person by like 15 years. Panera as a business, like specifically the one that I worked at, was
Yeah.
not like a fast food joint. It was like bakers who had worked there for 10 years and like
No
people
way.
who were like sick at cooking food and prepping food, and like the business was
Yeah.
ran significantly more seriously than like a typical fast food chain.
Oh,
I
really?
was I was there was like such intentional training that I had with all the
Mhm.
different aspects of the cafe, and there was like strict parameters in what I'd have to like test out in order to be in the different parts of
Yeah.
um you know the cafe again. But I worked there for like 5 years or something. I remember like the 16-year-olds when I was on my way out would just come and like not give a shit, and like I was the oldest person there. All the OGs that had worked there had gradually worked their way out. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I always compare that of how the job market has changed and how people's effort levels in their careers change. And like kids just don't give a shit. And there doesn't seem like there's any consequences for it, which maybe is true. And maybe I'm just an old head, but
Yeah. You might just be an old head because I used to work at the Bay Beach, which is the amusement park in Green Bay, and I used to do
oh,
social experiments basically every day. Not every day, but a lot of days. And I would just see like, okay, how long will it take before somebody does some actual work? And and so I would like, because if I was on a shift, I was gonna do it all. But I was like, okay, let's see how long we can go. Our shift started at 9 a.m. and we got done at 3 p.m. And then the other one was like 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. In the mornings, it would get to like 1 o'clock, and so there'd be messes everywhere, and literally no one would do a thing besides like take the order at the register and go grab the thing that the person needed. And half the time you had to ask them to do it, the thing to grab it or whatever. But yeah, it would go to 1 p.m. and then finally I'd just be like, this is enough. I got to do all this stuff. So I think, I think just kids want to be lazy no matter. So
you never had that in you. You're always a grinder.
my brother also worked there though too. I mean, it, I've never been one to like just not do anything and try. I was late a lot. I know that, which they didn't like. But my brother also was like one of the managers, so I felt like I needed to do well because otherwise he was gonna probably beat me
He,
up when I got home.
he was on your ass.
Yeah, he wasn't my direct manager, but I didn't want to make him look bad.
Also, I got dibs on if we're gonna do this, like one of us owns the episode thing. I got dibs on taking next week because I got a whole list of sick topics here that we're not gonna have time to get to today. But
Yeah.
one that I do want to talk about since it's so timely, and I did a little preparation here. I'm gonna see if I can get this to show on the camera. Can you read that?
Yeah. Kanye West.
Controversy timeline. It's not even about that. That was actually just out of curiosity, but in case we got this deep into it, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
kind of crazy to look at. But the topic that I wanted to discuss is separating the art from the artist. I find this to be such an interesting conversation. A couple of years ago, I posted an Instagram story, which I always used to do this. I kind of want to get back to it, but I would just post questions and just look at the responses people would get back. I would get so many responses to a question like, should we be able to separate the art from the artist? It would be a fun way to do, like a research project essentially to see what people would say, to a response
Mhm.
different than they'd maybe post in their story or maybe different than you'd think based on like the algorithm at that time. But this is timely because we just had a new album release from Mr. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West.
Yeah.
And I know you and I both hold him pretty high in regards to his contribution to music over the years.
Yeah, of course.
I want to hear your feedback on the album because that just came out and everyone was kind of waiting on that. I know you guys went to the listening party, but on a broader scale, I want to talk about your opinion on
Yeah,
if we should be able to, not even just like in the music genre, but if we should be able to separate the things that artists do in their personal lives
yeah,
from the art that we consume from them, whether it's music or media or art or whatever the case is.
yeah, for sure. Great questions. To start, I love the album. I went to the listening party,
In
and like
Chicago.
yeah, and I had listened to obviously songs that had came out beforehand, but this is gonna sound like some real Kanye shit to say, um, because he says this uh, on one of his albums. What's the orange one with
Life of Pablo.
Life of Pablo? He's it sounded like some real old Kanye shit. Like, uh, so I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. Um, I thought the listening party was cool. He could have done it a little bit better because, like, for Chicago specifically,
Wait,
he dropped it.
back up a little bit because
Okay.
I texted you and Steph because I saw a post of it. I texted you at like
Yeah.
9:30. It said it started at 9. I went
Yeah.
to bed early because I was waking up early, and then I woke up in the morning to a photo of you guys saying on the way.
Yeah.
So you like just tell me like what happened once you saw that text.
Well,
You guys just were like, let's go.
so we looked it up, like, because I thought when it said starting at 9, I figured that he had posted that like earlier in the day.
Mm.
So I figured like that meant it had like it was already done or it was going on. So we looked at the tickets online and it said doors open and it's starting at 9 p.m. We're like, okay, it's 9:30. No way he just released this and that it's starting. So we're like, fuck it. We just bought tickets, got in the Uber. I
How
just
much
threw
were
out
they?
for two of them it was like $75 or something. So um like 75 total, I should say.
Yeah, still
So we
super
just
cheap.
hopped in the car. But like, I mean, it's very much Kanye-esque where he just releases it or like says something about it at the moment it's happening. But for Chicago, he didn't give any sort of like prep time to get there. So like people were showing up, as it was going on. Like the music didn't start till probably 11:30.
Hmm.
Um,
How'd you guys get so close?
it was just like whoever got there could stand anywhere. But Chicago, there was not a lot of people. So I was talking to somebody from his label, and he was just saying, like, yeah, how'd you find out about it? I told him that you sent it to me. But he was saying that Chicago was the biggest location that it was supposed to be. LA looked like had the most people there, though. And I
Wait,
think,
when you say the biggest, like it's the most capacity location
yeah,
that he held it at?
capacity
Got it.
location. And they were expecting like a ton of people to show up for it because it was in a big venue. But like the venue was empty because I think of how he released it. Like LA had like 2 hours to get there, you know? So people like because if you went to sent it to me and I saw that text, I was about to get in bed because it was
I
it
was
was a
getting in
school
bed.
night. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think, I mean, as we know with Kanye, he does how he wants to do it, and like, he's him when it comes to that, so it's fine. But I just think like that was a miss from him. He should have done it at like the time, maybe at 7 or even 8. 8 like gives people time. But I think like because I had that my heart drop, be like, oh my gosh, we missed it when I saw that it started at 9. So I think probably a lot of people were in that because I saw a lot of people on FaceTime, like yo, should I come? Should I not? And they're like, well, right now he just has his video playing. There's no music going on. I have no idea what's happening. Um, so, but separating the art from the artist, I personally can do that. Um, I do think I think there's a few reasons for that. Some things are maybe you can't, especially if it like is, how do I say this?
There's a
I think
line.
I think for yeah, obviously there's a line. Like I'm not rocking with P. Diddy or with R. Kelly. Like, nah.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to what people say, and to use Kanye as an example, to fully understand a point that Kanye is saying, you have to listen to him talk for about 30 full minutes to understand and get the full picture of what he's saying. And if you don't do that and you just catch a clip, you're gonna get something that might be outrageous. And I think artists are also like some of the most emotional people on the planet, and they feel things a way that most people can't comprehend. So when they like say something, that's maybe just an emotional response. And I think people make mistakes often, but I think artists also do a good job of understanding when they make a mistake, like, and coming back to it. But I think the only true time to like listen to if they are saying certain things, if they say it like on an album and they're very true to how they speak, unless it's just like some bullshit ass rap where they're not actually saying anything ever. But if it's somebody like a Kanye who is very thought out and intentional with every little detail that it comes to with his art, I think you can listen to that and understand, like, okay, yeah, if he said some crazy ass shit on here and it's well thought out, he probably means that, you know?
Yeah, that point is tough because there is a couple specific insane songs that he's put out. But I hear you. I don't disagree with that, but just that specific example is like, yeah, he's got a
Yeah.
couple crazy songs, but
The one,
following you still.
yeah, but I do think it, okay, maybe that last piece isn't true because now
I
that I
think
am,
you're right though. It's like a unique case with him because there's like a manic brain involved. So like I don't take the stuff he says in some music, I'd say, as gospel as I maybe would
yeah.
for him at least a few years ago. But
Also, since I've like been so close to him, like
yeah,
really walking him through a stadium, the amount of eyes that are on you and like the pressure that is on him at all moments, like no one can comprehend that unless you've done it. It like I give the example, I was actually talking about this today, which is funny, but when he was sitting in that stadium, he was so aware of every single thing that was happening. Like he was paranoid about like what's going on. Like somebody was taking a photo of him in the opposite end of the bowl. Like he knew it. He could like feel that. And I could feel it being around him of like, dude, you can't even go outside. Like there's that video of him freaking out at that what
paparazzi.
yeah, the paparazzi. He's like, dude, it's 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm at my house. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Why are you here?
Yeah.
So I think there's like so many layers to what an artist experience, especially at a level like that,
Yeah.
uh, that normal people would never be able to comprehend. And I think you have to give people grace. I think people make mistakes, and I think most people will at least realize when they have and change their thought process. So
I think what creates my perspective too, and I know you can relate, one, like actually working with him, but also just knowing people like him. I think the line of insanity and genius are like often neck and neck.
Yeah,
And
for
obviously
sure.
there's like there's some mental health stuff in the mix with him that contributes to some of the
Yeah,
controversy over time, but it's just like I don't know. I think when someone's brain works at a capacity of that level, and there's
yeah,
a theme too, which I thought was interesting about like going through this timeline. Like again, there's a line with where I think you can separate the art and the artist. In the case of
mhm,
like a P Diddy or R Kelly, good example is like maybe not fucking with them. Michael Jackson, I kind of have some feelings about that as well. Um, but like everything that he's done dating back to 2004 has all been just insane shit for the most part that he said. And it's
yeah,
all wow factor stuff that he's like being the biggest contrarian he can possibly to
yeah,
ruffle all the feathers of the people that aren't rocking with him already.
for sure.
Again, don't necessarily support everything that he's done. Don't think it's all the
Yeah,
best. They weren't all the best moves. But it's like some of the stuff that I even forgot about dating back to like 2004, 2006, like 2013. Like he was selling Confederate flag merch at the Yeezus tour. Like so insane. And who's to
yeah,
say if it's values he actually aligns with? I guess that's where we decide to separate it. But if it's just straight like saying shit that's crazy, I think
yeah,
I can still cut that out and enjoy the album when it comes out.
for sure. And I mean, like, exactly what you said, though. He understands how to get a reaction out of people because he understands the power of people talking about you. Like, he wanted the attention on him at all times, especially around an album release. Like, he was always going to do some crazy shit. Also, sometimes the crazy shit he did made you really be like, yeah, that is a topic we should discuss. Like, the world needs to talk about this one.
Yeah, the context I think is important too. Not that, some of the stuff is excusable just because it was said in a long rant, but how many situations have you been in, especially during the Minneapolis days, of people who were riding that line of insanity, but also so,
Yeah.
so smart? Sometimes they'd go on
Yeah.
rants and it would take a second for them to get to that
Yeah.
grand point at the end of it, but there was maybe some crazy stuff that was said
Sure.
on the way there. So I mean, it's like Marty Supreme esque to me. It's like the same type of blind confidence and like mentality that you're the most important and this journey you're on is all that exists. And
Yeah.
everyone around me is just a part of this game that I'm playing. And
Yeah.
again, I can relate to that maybe at a significantly less intense level, but knowing people like that maybe makes me understand it a bit more than those that take some comments at face value.
Yeah. For sure. I think some of that I've learned with age, though, is it's okay to have an opinion as long, and I think it's better when you're surrounded by people that have strong opinions, but they have to be people that are open to having a discussion
Yeah.
because I think there's like, especially right now in the world, there's people that have a lot of strong opinions, but there's a lot of people that won't have a conversation about those strong opinions.
Unless it's online.
But that even when it's online, it's still not a conversation. It's just a yelling match.
Right.
And um, so like my friend Andre is somebody that comes to mind. I love this guy because he just says like whatever he thinks, but you can have a very a very um good
Productive.
conversation with him and productive because like he's damn near saying it so that he gets a reaction out of you, so you say something.
Yeah.
And I think like that's a good thing because again, it gets people talking. Um, so there
I
was
think
another piece
that's
that I wanted to go in, but I forgot what it was. So
I was gonna say, I think it's the debater in me too that like likes to take the opposition in some of these conversations, or maybe just has, or maybe I have a soft spot for what people mean versus how it was said. and
Yeah.
I find myself in arguments sometimes that I don't necessarily even know that I agree with that position just because I'm like, well, maybe let's think about it a bit more.
Yeah.
And sometimes it bites me in the butt. But this artist versus art conversation has always been an intriguing one for me because,
Yeah.
again, there's some things more significant than others.
Mhm.
And I don't know. At least in his case, people who listen to this might, have turned it off when the conversation about
Yeah.
Kanye started. But I don't know. It's a conversation I'm always open to. And in the case of him, I'm likely going to
Yeah.
tune into the album
For sure.
regardless. And he's on his apology tour and shit. So us crazy Kanye fans are going to be riding for him and thinking he's on the comeback. And this is a pretty mild album as far as
Yeah.
controversy and saying crazy stuff goes. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you got to root for the comeback, I guess.
Yeah. It's crazy that he's also 48. I looked that up when I was at the concert.
You thought he was
The
older or
other piece.
younger?
Huh?
You thought he was
Uh,
older or younger?
Younger, for sure. The other piece though, and like I'm a huge Steve Jobs fan.
Yeah.
Like I've read his book a bunch of times. And him and Kanye, again, very close to that line of crazy and genius. And I think that's a common denominator with people um, that are like at that level. But he was somebody that would intentionally rile you up, just like try to get you as angry as possible and like, make you feel something. But his thing was like, one, you need to stand up for yourself, and two, you need to have an opinion. If you don't have an opinion, we can't have a productive conversation because great ideas won't come from that. So, like, he was known as an asshole throughout Apple and throughout anybody that ever met him, but they also have the most respect for him because he would get you to be emotional, but he would get you to like defend your point. If you didn't defend your point, it wasn't a strong enough point. And he would do exactly what you're saying too, of playing like devil's advocate. But then the next day he would come back and either apologize to you and then be like, I think we should rock with this idea, or he would just take credit for your idea, but still it would go in the direction that it needs to go. And like some of the greatest innovation of our time came because of that. So I think like innovation happens when you have strong conversations and have opinions and say things, but then also are willing to go back on what, maybe was crazy and understand you were wrong. So like in general, people need to understand if they're wrong, that's okay, but you need to be able to come back and, apologize or whatever you need to do. But also people need to give people grace because at the end of the day, how many times have you been wrong? And just a lot of it comes from lack of not knowing. So I don't know. I just try to give people as much grace as possible, but I think it's hard at times for sure.
Yeah. And I think there's becoming less and less people like that too, unfortunately, which is why I think I appreciate the people that stay on that line between genius and insanity because they're moving something forward. They're creating the conversation. Again, I'm not trying to center this entirely around Kanye. This is just kind of
Yeah.
he's at the crux of this, being that an album just came out from him and he's one of the more controversial folk and
Yeah.
people who definitely don't separate the art and artistry from often.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Steve Jobs is a good example of that too, because that is maybe a different type of art. But I feel like when I hear, so and so's an asshole, like especially if it's someone successful, so and so's an asshole. I think the context is always important for me too, because it's like, are they a bad person or were they doing what they needed to do to progress this grand idea and
Yeah.
make what they were trying to make happen? And not that it's okay to just like be bad to people. I'm not saying that either, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a more nuanced conversation than, just good and bad, especially when it comes to prolific musicians and the inventor of Apple and, you know.
Yeah. So when you hear people that are like, "Oh, I hate LeBron James, I hate MJ, or I hate," whoever the most successful person is in that craft, what is your reaction to that, and how does that make you feel about those people? Like, what do you see?
Guess I'm not sure your question. Are you saying just like how do I feel when people feel strongly towards someone who's
Like,
successful?
to give you an example, I know someone that they hate Tom Brady, they hate LeBron James, they hate, you know, Kobe Bryant, they hate, whoever is the most successful in that field and who is considered the GOAT, but it's consistent across the board of like, if they're the greatest or if they're great, I'm gonna dislike them.
Mm.
Why do you think that
Because of the accomplishment or because of like personality and the stuff that comes with that? Or are you
I
leaving it open ended?
I think I'm leaving it more open-ended because like I feel like there is a consistent, you know, it's more, I think it has to do with like they don't like the
Envy?
greatness. Yeah, maybe. And then it's like they find every reason not to like that person. So what do you, like I said, it's open-ended. Why do you think that is? And like, why would that be even?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's envy. I don't know if people just have a hard time seeing people succeed. I think when people get to a Tom Brady or Kobe Bryant or LeBron stature, there's a spotlight on them and it makes certain traits stick out that could be unlikable to an average Joe. Why someone might not like people like that across the board, I guess I don't know. That's probably just some weird
Like as a society, we want people to be great, and then when they hit greatness, then we want them to fail. Like even Tiger, everybody wanted him to succeed. He becomes the greatest, and now they're praying for him to fail, and then he does, and then they're like, "Oh, look," which he just had another situation
car
happen this last
crash.
week.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand that from people, why we want them to be great, and then when they are great, we want them to be torn down.
Maybe it's just because it's something to talk about. I feel like I've had arguments with that about people in the UFC before
Mhm.
because I always like in any sport when there's an incoming superstar. If
Yeah,
it's someone, especially to me, someone that like talks shit and is like confident about their abilities and is backing it up. I was a Sugar Sean fan from like day one.
yeah,
Granted, he's been in the UFC, but like I remember he was on a pod. I think it was like Joe Rogan when he was on his come up, and he was so young, and he was so hungry, and he was trying to be so healthy, and he had just hired that Tim guy as his coach,
mhm,
and you listen to him talk in long form, and you hear about how intentional he is and all the work he's putting in, and he doesn't go on
yeah,
social media, and he doesn't eat anything bad, and
mhm,
everything that he does is so well researched, and he likes breath work and mindfulness, but then he
yeah,
gets all this hate because he's got tattoos and like dyes his hair and has this persona in press conferences and is like cocky about his abilities. I think
mhm,
maybe that's a relatable example to like the Tom Brady and
yeah,
thing. Like you see these people at face value, and sure, there's some annoying things about them, but
yeah,
I think in any situation, if you're a person who dives deeper and is like interested on the backstory, it's going to be
mhm,
harder to hate, at
yeah,
least from like a human perspective. But maybe
yeah,
that's unique to us. Maybe there's only certain people that feel that way. But
mhm,
I don't know. I'm always rooting for the guy who's putting the work in and has opportunity to be great. And
yeah,
once they get there, it's like, I hope they hang on to it.
yeah, exactly. And I agree. I think like the come up story is amazing. I always root for those people. Like, I even think of artists, especially in college. I used to always only listen to the ones that were like, trying to make it and that type of stuff. And then also in sports too. Like I've always appreciated I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan, so like the people like Kobe that are putting in just these insane amounts of effort, and I can appreciate that even in sports or whatever the thing may be, even if I don't like that thing. I don't know, I think, like I just always have thought that's so weird that, like, people don't want people to be great, even if they've put in the effort that is required to be great. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I don't know. I wrote that that's the first item I have on my list here of 10 topics, so we didn't get in too deep to it. But I
Yeah,
think that this could be a cool, again, this is not, that wasn't like anything business related, and it's maybe just giving our perspective on
yeah,
something pop culture related. And in this case, it's about music and someone who's been surrounded by controversy. But just as easily, we could talk about business stuff. I have um, some random business ideas and other things that we can flesh out on the podcast. But just to kind of wrap it up, one item I did have, as long as we've kind of done these episodes, we've been sort of documenting the growth
mhm,
of packaging of the podcast. And I've been getting my ass kicked, candidly, like trying to edit these things just to try to make them simple but better than they are, and kind of learning editing programs. I know you were like doing video stuff and maybe have done editing stuff when you were posting personal things, but I, since probably middle school, haven't opened any sort of video editing program. For episodes 1 through 17, I was just using Riverside's native platform, which, again, not really doing anything besides tweaking audio and then hitting export and then dropping in. There's like a full brand package on Riverside. You can just click a button and it adds the logo in the corner, adds the intro at the beginning, and adds the outro at the end.
mhm,
Granted, an intro and an outro we got made by a dude on Fiverr after sending some super high level ideas and an audio to use. So we're trying to spiff it up a bit. And in editing, I've been using CapCut. Maybe there's better programs. Somebody let me know, or Trent, you let me know.
mhm,
But I'm trying to come up with what they call lower thirds to have our names pop in with like social handles
mhm,
at the beginning of every episode. I'm trying to put the formula logo in a better place in the corner. We started not removing all the ums and likes so the conversation can just flow more smoothly. I
mhm.
noticed in an old episode that I watched, we were having whoever was speaking show on full screen on the camera. We switched to just having both of us displaying it all times, which I think comes through a lot clearer. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
I-
that better.
As you know, as still as much as this is still in its infancy, going back in old episodes, it is cool to see, the changes and things, different haircuts in different parts of my house I was recording. We have different setups. Um, so I don't know. I'm just excited about the opportunity to continue to package just a little bit better and have it be something that's a bit cooler than it is now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all the work you've put in. I know you've done a lot of design and spending time making sure that it's great, and it definitely does not go unnoticed, so I appreciate it, and does look great, so
For
I
that.
I know you're a perfectionist, though, so I will keep seeing it get better each week, but, appreciate you.
Of course. Yeah, I'm excited to continue to see it get better. Marco's hopefully gonna have intro, outro for me pretty soon.
Yeah,
Next week, hoping to have on my buddy Dondo as a guest. We can find, I know that you guys haven't met before. I've kind of briefed you on his background, but excited to have someone else in here and give some perspective other than just you and I.
yeah.
But anything else you want to kind of close this out with?
Nah, thought that was a good one, and, looking forward to doing another interview, so it'll be fun.
The spotlight on somebody else.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
Alright,
I'll see you next week.
sounds good.